Okay, Charlie, I want to start with the system architecture. Can you navigate to the system landscape diagram you had?
Sure.
So you have used a few authentication flows on this diagram as an example: JWT between ESP ETL, SAML for IDB, OpenID Connect for LinkedIn, Gmail. Can you explain what alternatives that you considered and why you landed with these flows selections?
Okay. So I will start from here. For JWT, this is system-to-system integration. We do not want a human touch, so public key exchange is good enough for this. So I recommend all OAuth JWT flow. Now for internal user login, and I recommend single sign-on for SAML because
Sorry, Charlie. For JWT, before you leave it, system to system, no human interaction. You decide to go with JWT. What is the replacement for the? You're missing a human here. What will be the option?
Oh, the option. Oh, we can also use web server flow in the save a refresh token. That works also.
No, I meant you do not have human interaction and you will go with JWT. How JWT replace the need for human interaction?
Oh, okay. So, well, to upload the public key to each other will still be human operation. But once you set it up, there's no human interaction anymore. So JWT is a value token signed by a public key, verified by a private key.
Okay, you mentioned also web server flow is a replacement. Is there another option for that?
Yeah, web server flow is another option. When basically the first time you log in, you need a person to log in there. But then after that, you save a refresh token for future interaction.
Where will you store the refresh token and reestablish the connection?
Oh, okay. So refresh token is always stored by the system. For example, we already use refresh token for the mobile apps. The mobile app have to store it somewhere. The under the hood, I do not know, but it's always the system which store the refresh token securely for us.
What happens if someone revokes the system?
If someone revoke the refresh token?
Yeah,
that's why I'm not recommending it. If someone revoke it, then suddenly the interface will not work if we use that for system-to-system integration. But for user login, no problem. They can log in again.
So which flows then you recommend of these for ETL as a final and the ESP?
Yes, for system-to-system integration, I recommend OAuth JWT flow.
Okay. Next flows, you will talk about SSO, I guess?
Yes. SSO, compared with OIDC, it does not need it totally depends on redirect. It does not need a direct channel between the SP and IDP. And so therefore, it is the most common flow to use for internal user single sign-on.
Yeah, how about the rest of flows? The flow you use for LinkedIn and others?
Yes. When user log into Salesforce using OIDC, using LinkedIn, the flow is OIDC, and it's the first round of OIDC depend on redirect. The second round has a direct channel. So so that's how it works. And as a result of that, as a result of this interaction, you can get a refresh token so that in the future you do not log in. Okay, now that's OIDC when you log in from browser. Okay, when you use social sign-on. Now, what if you use mobile app? If you use mobile app, the first layer
No. So Charlie, I'll stop you there. So how is OIDC different from web server flow?
OIDC is web server flow with enhancement to add the ID scope and so that you get user information. You need to implement user information endpoint on the IDB side, and on the client side, you get the user information also.
Okay, and what happens once you get the user information? How do you validate?
The user information will be passed to us in the registration handler as parameters, so that if we want to verify, that's the place to do it.
So what happens in registration handler? Can you talk about the methods of the registration handler interface? Yeah.
Yes, in registration handler, based on the parameters passed to us, if we recognize that's the existing user, we return the existing user. The user will log in, and if say that's a user we do not recognize, then we have an option. And one option is that if business and security can approve a method. So if we have matching email address and the user last name, then we allow them to go in. Then we find a user with the same last name and email. We return that user. Then a third party account link will be created for that user. In the future, when the user log in from that using that social account, they will be able to get in. Now, if this is a new user, if we allow social registration, then we can create a new user there. So there are two methods in a registration handler: new user and updated user. But updated user can so there's just two methods.
So when you are creating the user for the first time, you are basically creating account record, contact record, and the user record, everything, right? So will you not get mixed YAML over there?
I honestly have not verified this, but I heard that is the only place where you get to create records as well as user without getting the DML error. And I recommend to do a POC of this. And this is people have not gotten the DML error there.
Okay, no, over to you.
How about the mobile? You had the mobile strategy where you use native app and mobile publisher in other situation, but you didn't talk about the authentication flows for these. Can you explain a little bit more, Charlie?
Yes, both the native app and the mobile publisher app use under the hood use mobile SDK. Mobile SDK out of box support authentication using the OAuth user agent flow.
Yeah, do you know why and how the user agent flow is different from other flows?
Yes, it is different because mobile app is not considered to be secure enough to be able to store the client secret. So we do not put the client secret in the mobile app. As a result, we use a simplified flow. The user agent flow is a simplified version of web server flow. It does not have the first round. You just go there with your client ID and allow the user to log in, and then you get back you get it back the access token as well as a refresh token.
Well, it does give you the refresh token as well. And how is the refresh token secure in mobile? If client secret is not secure, then how is refresh token secure? And how can you avoid
That's
that?
a great question. I do not know, and I know this is an area that we want to improve because user agent flow is not even recommended now anymore. But that's something that I do not know under the hood what Salesforce is thinking about this.
So if you will not recommend user agent, then what would you recommend?
I do recommend user agent flow, and that is the flow used supported by mobile SDK.
Charlie, on the mobile app strategy, what is the justification for you to recommend a native app?
Yes. The first of all is the brand of this company. This is a fast trading company and 24/7. It's in California, and second, it's the lifestyle of traders. They basically live on that. If you give them a mobile app, you want to attract them, it got to be a very performant app and better to be sleek. And to give them a mobile publisher app, it's definitely not going to attract them. If even even a hybrid app is kind of sluggish for these traders. So to really get the business purpose of attracting people, I recommend performant and sleek mobile app, native mobile app.
So Charlie, when you say performant, are you in the native app? Are you using the mobile's like resources extensively? What is that exactly when you say performant?
Native mobile app does API integration. The API integration, the mobile SDK support API wrappers to make that convenient. And if we wanted to even improve performance further, we can optimize a mobile app much better than optimizing a hybrid mobile publisher app.
So is your concern that the APIs will take more time on the mobile publisher? For example, if they want to do a trade or whatever, or update their contact info, are you saying mobile publisher will take more time for that API calls into Salesforce Cloud?
I do not see what can cause a mobile app to be slower than a hybrid or mobile publisher app. I do not see that. But if test reveals that, we definitely can debug that. And if we need to consolidate API interactions, multiple interactions into one, we can use the composite API to make it perform better.
Yeah. So no, I agree on picking the right API, but I'm trying to understand why you think that API calls are going to be taking more time in mobile publisher versus a native app.
If we're using the CPI, the performance will be the same. But mobile publisher, but native app, their processing is just faster than the hybrid app.
Processing of what?
Data processing and interactions, and
so are you going to process the data in the Salesforce Cloud or on the mobile app itself?
No. Well, if we wanted to cache data, then mobile SDK supports that also. But mobile can cache more data than other apps.
So what data you plan to cache?
I have not looked into the performance, and performance optimization is something that we have to test to know where we can improve. So I recommend that we test the mobile app for performance, then optimize the parts that's still slow.
Yes, answer the last question. So which requirement are you trying to fulfill by a native app? Can you show it to me in your requirements?
Sure. I read it somewhere that we want to attract users. We want to drive adoption of their platform by offering mobile experience, and a mobile publisher app definitely does not drive adoption, and a hybrid app is doubtable to be able to do that. So to attract people, to drive adoption, we need something that performs, and we need something that's sleek.
Okay, we can move on.
Sure. Charlie, you do you have a few systems that integrates with Salesforce. As an example, LinkedIn, Gmail from one side, website from the other side through ESP, ETL, and others, but there is no arrows that shows where the data is flowing. Can you explain how the data flow from where to where and how?
Okay. Thank you for the question. I searched for square bracket 0, and all my integrations are labeled this way, and the directions are in every integration. And if you want, we can go through 1 through 12 and look at the direction.
If you can explain at high level from your solution, at least with Salesforce, what is inbound, what is outbound, and which tool, and what are the differences between ETL and ESB, and if we can use only one?
Okay, ETL and the ESB. ETL is an operation, is not a tool. And for this operation, I recommend to use to share the same tool as the ESB. And the ESB is the middleware, and that's the a way of doing integration and a tool. And have I answered your question, or I'm missing something?
I'm not sure if I understood where you're coming from. Are you using first MuleSoft for both of them as an ETL
Yes.
and as an ESB or different tools?
Same tool. I'm using MuleSoft for both, but ETL is data operation, usually batch operation. ESB is usually real-time integration.
And you think MuleSoft is fit for purpose for both of them?
Yes, because MuleSoft
Okay.
support both API.
So Charlie, follow up on that one. If you're using a MuleSoft for ETL, which version of MuleSoft you're using? And how the MuleSoft is going to access all the file during the data migration?
Okay, so I do not know the version. It's 4 dot something. I do not remember the specific version. And then the bulk API version I recommend is 2.0, and that's the key. And for file operation, and this we have to use REST API to get file content. That's the only way. But after we get the content, to delete the.
So Charlie, let me rephrase the question. Okay, what is going to be your deployment methodology for the MuleSoft?
Okay, deployment strategy. Sure. So I'm going to assume that this data lake and the HR systems, they are in the same data center or in the same in the same cloud, and I'm going to deploy. I'm going to use the I'm going to deploy MuleSoft runtime right into behind their firewall, and then in the yellow zone, I would have I have a proxy for traffic to go from inside the firewall to outside, and from outside to inside, I would have a reverse proxy to allow that. So runtime, MuleSoft runtime runs inside firewall.
So on if you're using MuleSoft for ETL, Charlie, can you explain to me if the requirement is to stage the data and then because there's a requirement to make sure the addresses are standardized or validated. So you have to say for all the existing customers, you want to call Google and then make sure address is standardized. So how would you do that in a kind of before the data is loaded and data is staged between?
Oh, okay. Thank you for the question. I'm assuming in the data lake system we can use an area for staging, and if that's not available, I recommend the Oracle database as the staging area to supplement MuleSoft.
You mean you're acquiring Oracle database into the landscape?
Whatever database they already have, we can leverage. If not, I can recommend data warehouse. I can recommend Oracle. Any relational database can be a staging area.
So you don't see any other products which can work with staging databases very like out of the box rather than building everything from scratch?
Oh yeah, if we want to specialize the tool for ETL operation, then we can consider Informatica Power Center.
What is the difference between Informatica and MuleSoft, and which one you go with as your final recommendation, Charlie?
Okay, so for huge amount of data, then I would go with Informatica. But here we are not looking at LDV, but not huge amount of data. So MuleSoft is adequate for that purpose.
What is the volume that you are migrating overall?
We have, let's look at our data volumes. So we have less than 1 million account and not a huge number of contacts, I assume. So in the matter of millions, not hundreds of millions, for example. relatively moderate large data volume.
Okay. Can you go back to your system landscape again?
Sure.
So you do have a set of requirements to store documents. I haven't seen in your system architecture what strategy or approach you'll use to store documents.
Oh, okay. To store documents, I'm assuming I'm sending all the data to data lake. Now, if I'm mistaken that the data lake cannot hold documents for us, then I'm going to send that to any data warehouse they have. If they do not have a place to save data, I can recommend AWS S3, and we can send files to there.
Sorry, I'm not sure what your recommendation on where to store documents. So are you saying you're storing documents in data lakes or data warehouse or S3, or which approach you're going with? I also see
not sure.
I also seen you in some requirements using files, Salesforce files.
Yeah, we are using Salesforce files. They are most convenient, but when they are not actively used anymore, we can archive them. Where do we archive them? Any data warehouse, our S3 storage, our OneDrive would work. This is an enterprise decision. I will discuss with their enterprise architect. But wherever it is, we use ETL operation to archive the files to there.
We're looking at you. Go ahead, Ram.
How do you store the archived files in Salesforce if you need to?
How you do what? Pardon?
If you need to store the archived files, what you are storing on somewhere on the data lake, if you need to store that archived files in Salesforce,
Okay.
how do you store that?
Yes, to show archived files, I can assume the remote system can generate a signed URL for us, and we can use that to access the file. And if more is needed, we can develop LWC to do more, and even bring back the file if necessary.
Charlie, you said for the invoices, which are PDF files, you'll be using external object. Is that the strategy? You're going to use some data in data warehouse, sorry, Amazon S3, and some are going to be coming through the external object. Can you clarify that?
Okay, so this question is about the invoice. Is that correct?
Yeah, invoice PDF files. You said those are going to be shown using external object, right?
Oh, okay. So invoice records are external objects.
And the PDF files. So if you look at the requirements,
the PDF files, I can I assume that the PDF files are hosted in the accounting system, and then they can give us a signed URL for us to give to customer.
So how does this? What do you mean by signed URL?
Signed URL it's basically a unique link with a token signed by user by system credential, so that when you click on the link, that link will allow you to download that file without asking you for credentialing.
So who's going to validate that token or certificate? Because assume the user goes to the community and then they're going to say, I want to look at this last month's PDF, and you have a secure link on that record. Who's going to validate this secure link?
Who is going to validate that? Oh, okay. So let's use AWS as an example, since they introduced this most famous slide. So you created signed URL with your credential, and when you click on that, that goes to their server, and their server know how to validate the signature in the signed URL, and then they return you the document. So it's the server. It's the server who hosts the file, validate, sign the URL.
Okay. Well, what if the ERP system says they cannot do that? They can't create
if they cannot do that, and then I can assume that they offer do they offer deep link? That will be the easiest. Just link to their system.
What are the alternative options that we have in Salesforce ecosystem for file storage?
Okay, so ultimately, if they do not offer any kind of link, then the next level we can write LWC with real-time request response Apex callout to get the file content and render that using LWC.
So is there any limitation if you are searching, if you are getting the file through the LWC? Do we have any limitation that we need to be worried of in terms of file size or anything?
Okay, so if we are sending doing a simplistic integration and do one request and response to get the whole file, then we are limited to the size of a response, which is 1 megabyte. But with multi-part and smart integration, we can support any file size. And here, when we talk about the files, we are talking about a contract and the invoice. Those are all small files.
Okay.
Charlie,
can you go to the
model, please?
sorry. Yeah. Data model, can you open the data model, please?
Oh, sure.
So my first question, Charlie, is you mentioned you're using person accounts. Can you, did you miss it here, or are you going to be using person accounts?
Oh yeah, I use personal account for the individual traders, and with personal account, they are the benefit of personal account is that we get to show the account and the contact information together, and the cost of that is that when we do data loading, we need to load the personal account as one record instead of we load them in one row, and to create 2 records, we have to load them together.
So are you using ACR record for with person accounts?
Those ACR is for broker account. Broker account are not personal account. So if individual account plays multiple roles for that broker, then we create multiple account contact relationship records to indicate what are the roles they play. Basically, in Lightning experience, ACR replaced account contact role.
Charlie, where is the requirement where it says that broker has to play the various roles?
Yeah, they wear multiple hats. That's the word they used. One user can wear many hats and hence hold multiple roles. So how do we specify that? We use account contact relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, Charlie, the question that we had was, are you keeping trade data in Salesforce or outside?
Trade data is not in Salesforce at all. And to show them, we use the chart library from Trade US. And all the real data is in Trade US.
Okay, so under governance, second bullet point, it says because on regulatory industry, all changes to trade and has to be recorded and accessible. And you said you're using field levels, field history. So how are you doing that trade data changes if not Salesforce?
Okay, so I assume the other system are already obeying this rule, and the trade data from Trade US will be sent to data lake also.
So where would be the data, in the data lake or in the Trade US?
Data lake.
So I can go back to the data model.
Yeah.
Sure.
On the data model, you have both asset and stock. Can you specify what are you storing where?
Okay, so the resellers can resell their hardware basically the resources in their trading center. Let me go there to find that out. To the traders, so that the trader can implement the systems there for high-speed trading, and those things they buy will be modeled as asset. Okay, so let me find that. Yeah, they sell hardware equipment to the customers, so those equipment are modeled as asset. As for stock, one company has only one stock. I choose to use a separate object here in case they wanted to change some descriptions of the stock, or they want to associate their announcement with this stock. I forgot to draw a lookup, and then we can use this object. It's not an object with a lot of business logic either.
And Charlie, you said you are using an external object, right, for the
Invoice.
For invoice, I forgot to draw it here. Invoice has lookup to account and opportunity. It can support lookup because we are sending opportunity and account data to other systems from Salesforce.
So the relationship type is a lookup.
Yeah,
to an
lookup.
external object, Salesforce.
Yeah, lookup. Yeah, because they have our ID. They have our account ID, have our opportunity ID.
Even a standard lookup relationship. So when you create that object, are you going to pick lookup objects, lookup relationship?
Yeah, it is a lookup from an external object to a Salesforce object, which using the Salesforce ID of the looked up object. In this case, the account ID and the opportunity ID.
Can you explain to me what are the lookup types you can have?
Yes, there are 3 different types. One is direct lookup. Another is indirect lookup. So let's say if account has a unique external ID and the invoice have that ID also, then we will set up an indirect lookup. And another kind of lookup is external lookup. So if we have something which look up to an external object using the primary key of the external record, then that will be external lookup.
So using the regular lookup relationship, right?
Yeah, here I'm using from invoice to account. I'm using direct lookup. From invoice to opportunity, if it's invoice associated with the opportunity, I can use direct lookup because we are sending Salesforce IDs to other systems. We are the MDM.
Okay.
So Charlie,
Let's see one relationship bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Charlie, coming back to the previous question, right? You mentioned that a company can have only one stock, and that would have some information about the stock, like description, price, etc. I'm still not able to understand why you need a separate object for that.
We do not absolutely need that. We can denormalize that and put that in account. However, using a separate object give us the flexibility to set security on this, and if we will have more business logics in the future, it's convenient. It's not. I do not say it is necessary.
No, so what is your final answer, Charlie? Would you go with a separate object, or would you go it somewhere to have the stock information?
I would have a separate object.
And the reason is security, you're saying?
No, the reason is that to expect future business logic related to stock, we do not want to mix up what we are tracking for a stock with what we are tracking for an account.
So Charlie, as per the current requirement, current scenario, so let's stick to the current requirement. What is your recommendation and final solution?
I will use stock because being an architect, I have to expect changes.
Okay.
You explain the relationship that you have drawn between account and product.
Between account and product?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. So if a reseller wants us to list one of their product for them, we're gonna create a product record for them, and that product would have a lookup to that reseller. Then we put it in our price book so that they can sell their services when they sell stuff to customers.
What if the same product can be sold by multiple resellers?
Yeah, if we list a reseller's product, and according to the business rule, if other resellers can sell their product also, then the product will be available to other resellers also.
So then how am I gonna? So in the product, you can have only one lookup per reseller, right?
Oh, okay. So if multiple resellers offer products, and then we use different skills, different product records to represent them.
So if there's a buyer who wants to buy something, say a product XYZ, how can they know this XYZ is offered by reseller A and B? Or they
Yeah, we can add we can add the name of the reseller on the product as a custom field and show it to customer if that's what they need to see.
So you're gonna, if it's the same product, you're gonna create duplicate products. So
It's not. It's different skill. So even if a product is, let's say, if you go to a store to buy a cell phone, you buy a cell phone, but if the cell phone is from Apple, it's an Apple cell phone. If the cell phone is from Samsung, it's a Samsung phone. So different products from different resellers are modeled as different items with different skills. Different products, yeah.
So for example, if you go to like say Amazon, you type a product name, and then it lists on all the resellers who's selling the product on that marketplace, right? So explain to me how that experience you're going to give. If the user wants to search, say, a product, how can you list down all the resellers that supporting the product from user experience?
Yes. First, I will explain my assumption here, and then I will explain the challenge that we are facing. So the name reseller does not mean it's the resellers are reselling third-party things. Okay, they are reseller of our services and product. Okay, so now they may offer their unique services. Okay, so given that, I'm modeling their services as unique product. So now, what if in a different situation that one product, same product, can be offered by different resellers? Then I would model it differently. That was not my assumption. Now, if we want to explore that a little bit further, then what I can do is that I can have one product, which can be from different resellers. Then I can have a reseller option object here, which look up to product. And then I'm going to have a custom UI. When they select a product, I allow them to select which reseller option do you want to choose, and then we go from there. But that's not my assumption here. My assumption is that each reseller is offering some unique services that they provide.
Okay, so if I go with the assumption, if the same product being offered, say for example, say installation service, right? So can you explain to me in the data model what changes you would do if for the data part, if you go with the assumption same product could be offered by multiple resellers?
Okay, so if we go that option, first of all, installation service, given you choose a class of service, that's one product. And then as for which reseller you choose for installation, that is not a product thing. That we can allow you to select your installer on opportunity. And then we will also populate that on contract so that you know who is your reseller, your installer.
Yeah, my question, Charlie, how are you going to do how are you going to do many between account and product?
Account and product. Okay, so if I have one product offered by multiple resellers, I would have to use a junction object. That will be reseller option, a reseller product option, which looks up to reseller account, also look up to product. That's the only way to do it. The only rational way to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You didn't talk about the short-term and long-term strategy for LDV. So can you tell me about the short-term and long-term strategy for different objects that you have?
Yes. For my LDV strategy, for the short term, if I mean if by short term, if you mean the data need to stay in Salesforce, the strategy is that we will make sure our so-called our list views and our reports all have high selectivity, and if necessary, create custom index, and if beneficial, create skinny table. And then in the long run, we're archiving all our data into the data lake.
So you have got asset as well, which is also an LDV. So what would be your short-term strategy specifically on asset?
Oh, okay. Specifically on asset, when asset is active, when users can, when customers can open case against them, I'm going to keep them in Salesforce. Now, when they are when they are no longer supporting them, then we can archive them.
Charlie,
How would you?
yeah, quick question. So if you have to create a skinny table on an asset, do you have to call Salesforce support for that?
Salesforce does not charge you for asset storage. In turn, they do not allow you to create a skinny table. So keep that one skinny. Don't add a lot of fields to abuse it.
So if you have millions of assets, will this impact anything like report or list views, and how do you mitigate that?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So assets, you can have high level or low level assets, right? So like a machine, if you model it as one record, it's just one machine. If you model every layers of components, it can be very complex. We only see asset records at the level where customers can open case against them. As for asset details, they can be from an external data source. That's the data lake. When we need to show the details, we can use a mashup to show the details.